let's get started, guys. I see some more people coming in, but we'll just have to catch up. So real quick, we have that poll up in front of you on the interface. It says it's pushed live to the audience. Do you think you know what the associative difference is? Going to give you another 20 seconds to answer that if you haven't. And then we're going to share the results. Now, not everybody might not answer, and that's quite all right. Let's see the results. Okay, very good. So here are the results. They should be pushed live. You can see we have 42% say yes. I guarantee you 42% after you see this demonstration, if you have, unless you're that 42% that have already followed a lot of our materials and you know it just the way I'm going to present it to you today, we'll see, but maybe you'll learn something a little bit new. Understanding that the associative difference, when we talk about it, is not just about interactive charts like I thought it was, the way I'm going to tell my story in a moment. We do have one individual that's saying they don't see it. It should be in the display, maybe refresh your screen, but you guys have an audience panel or an audience view should pop up. So other people are answering, so just make sure you refresh your interface. Okay, so welcome everyone. This is my new webinar series called Do More with Qlik for Beginners and Beyond. We kicked it off in early June, and this is our third session. And the nice part is that I'm not only doing topics within the Qlik organization and products and capabilities and features, but I'm also inviting special guests, and those could be product marketers, product managers, and it could be somebody like yourself as well. So if you'd like to be on a session with me and present a particular feature, topic, or solution to the broader audience, and we will promote it, please get in touch with me. You can find me on Twitter or on the Qlik community as well, or just send me a note through the chat interface here as well, and you could be a special guest on one of the webinars. On the last webinar, we had a special guest. We had Jeff Goldberg, and he discussed and presented the qlik-cli interface, something that I actually just presented at the last Scotland meetup. If you want to learn about that, you could always go to the archive location that you will see here actually, and I'll also provide the links to everybody here as well in the chat interface. This is just a tiny URL, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a quick question and save it to the inbox, select the question and answer the question, and then I'm going to send it to all. And you'll get this link, which will bring you to a topics you need to know community link, which will contain the archive of the previous sessions as well. So these so far have been rather fun and successful and entertaining, and I love doing them, and I love having the special guests and presenting something new. So stay tuned for the next one. Which will be at the end of July. I actually have a little blurb of this. I'll throw it up here right now. So you can see it. The next session is July 23rd. And special guest, my colleague and friend, Denise LaForgia, Director of Product Marketing Cloud. She's going to be discussing our QlikSense SaaS offerings. Her and myself are going to basically tag team and discuss specific QlikSense SaaS features. And then also how you can get the most out of a trial of QlikSense Business, whether you're a partner or customer or presenting this as a solution. Okay, so join us July 23rd for that. Okay, today, as we mentioned earlier, we're going to discuss the story of the associative difference. Basically, I had a little fun way of basically creating an approach. I'm actually working on an animated video right now with a number of different drawings and animations to basically talk about my story and how I discovered the power and use of the associative difference. So this is going to be available in a more explainer type form, probably later in the month. But what I did is I was able to create a couple of slides just basically just to talk about what I experienced and what I thought it was. And it kind of resonated and related with many people that did not know much about the associative difference. I'm going to discuss some practical examples. We're going to look at associative insights and discuss cognitive capabilities when combined with the associative difference that helps you find the unexpected and basically allows you to see things that you didn't know were in your data. Okay. Now, here's the thing with this associative difference. When it comes, not all the data always allows itself to work with it. That's the beauty of it. So there could be anomalies in the data, and there could be certain insights in the data that you weren't aware of. So when you work with dissociative difference, it really depends on the type of the data values and data models that are in there as well. So understand, it's not just something you flick on and you're always going to find, value and discovery every time. Okay, it really does depend on how that data is populated. And I have some examples. I'll show you that. Okay, as I mentioned, we have the Q&A panel. I'll ask questions. Hold on, I got a question. Can we please reduce the background voice? Let me move my mic away. I don't know if I have any control of that. I just have a microphone here. It doesn't give me any control to reduce. I'll just move my mic down a little bit. Okay. So use your Q&A panel to ask questions during the presentation, and we'll cover them at the end. Okay, ways to get in touch with us, obviously qlik.com or on Twitter or social media as well, and the Qlik community. And the registration email that you have for this particular webinar, you can reach me simply by replying to that email. And we talked about the next session. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the associative difference here. And we'll just go to presentation mode. I created this slide just before I wanted to tell you about the story that when I experienced this. I put these together myself to try to really simplify it. So the associative difference is not just it's not a feature. It's a patented and unique set of capabilities that allow you to uncover hidden insights, much easier than traditional BI and query tools. That's pretty much, okay? That's how you sum it up. Okay, so again, I'm sorry, as I mentioned getting right, if people are having choppy audio, it's most likely your internet connection. If everybody comes back and says the audio is choppy, then it could be the host server or my internet connection. So if others are okay and can hear me, that'll be fine. If your audio is choppy, refresh your browser as well. Okay. So I put this together basically just to simplify what the associative difference is. Okay, it's a set of capabilities. They're patented with our Associative Engine. They're unique to Qlik, okay? And it basically allows you to perform analytics and get answers to questions and make discoveries. So analytics is more than just presenting data. You know, how many widgets did I sell? You know, 500. Okay, that's good. Okay, but what you want is more than the what is. Okay, you might want to see what's contributing to the sale, that 500, or maybe there's something in that 500 that should be more. Okay, so I'm just adjusting my mic based off of audience feedback. So you might need to understand more with things that are happening in your data. And your data is just comprised of measures, right? The metrics, the numerical components of your data, time frames, the data locations, the date component of your data, and then your who, what, where, when, the different dimensional data values, right? And then associating all that information together helps you ask questions and make discoveries. And that's where the associative difference can help. Okay, so I put together a little story called The Story of the Associative Difference. Now, it's told a lot better in the animated version on the video, but basically what I wanted to just explain that at one point in my life in 2006, I worked for an open source BI company, and it was pretty hot at the time. And we got into a competitive situation with, at the time, a company known as qlik and its product that was called qlik-cli. And really didn't know anything about this other than having a meeting with my sales rep and him charting a bunch of things on the board and, you know, saying, how are we going to compete? Because we made it to the final two, right? It was down to us and qlik. And word was out that they really liked what qlik had to offer. They had this really hot product, QlikView, and it gave them everything that they wanted to see. So naturally, when in a sales competitive situation, you want to, you know, perform the game theory, if you have heard of that, like make it look and act and sound exactly like, you know, your competitor's product. And that's what I did. I basically went to work night and day on my computer. I recall it even had family come over and I'm sitting in my office and, you know, I didn't even, you know, hi guys, let's eat, and then come back to my office and basically tapping away on my computer. I downloaded a copy of QlikView Personal Edition because it was free to really see what I was dealing with, to try to make the demo work and function just like QlikView. So I started to work with my app. Okay, guys, I'm sorry about this. I'm not sure how to reduce any of the background I don't know what you're hearing. I'm tapping on my headset mic. You hear the tapping? Trust me, I will handle this with our presentation manager. If you hear that tap, that means the mic that's being used is my headset mic. So I have another mic here, but it says it's not using that mic. Maybe the problem is that the wrong mic is being used. It says it's using my headset microphone. Okay, good. All right, guys. So anybody who's having a problem, it's most likely related to your system because I'm only getting one or two of the same people. Okay, so I basically came up with the requirements for the particular charts and graphs and answers to particular questions that you do within a sales situation, and put together the appropriate visualizations and interactive components in order to make it look like qlik-cli. But in order to do that, I had to write HTML, CSS, JavaScript. These are web development languages, basically to create the presentation layer, to create the user interface, to style it a certain way, to interact with the different components. And then also I had to write queries in the form of SQL, a query structure language. So by doing so, I had to write multiple queries, sub-selects, sub-queries, multiple queries for each type of visualization that was out there that answered a particular question, sending data to the backend database with parameters. That was the way I was able to mimic or make the product look like qlik-cli, or denotes to me what I knew was qlik-cli based on the simple personal edition. So we went through all this work, and it was, trust me, it was daunting. It definitely probably took about a week, 24/7, not really 24/7, but it took a long time to really develop and get this thing looking top notch. So I was confident that I got the application working the way it would present, and from what I thought, I captured all the elements for. And the following day was demo day, and basically I just, I was about 2-hour trip away from where I was, a 2-hour plane ride. So we got there, and for those of you in sales situations or meeting situations, you arrive, you exchange formalities, and you set up your equipment, and you're all excited, and you want to show what's going on. So I was ready to present. Of course, the sales guy had to go up and do his thing, talk about qlik again, and introduce everybody, and have an agenda. But then basically, I was ready to go and present that demonstration. And I talked about everything, the ins, the outs. I captured their requirements. I demonstrated the product. From what I understood, after everything was said and done, there were smiles. People, head nods. People looked at it and they were like, you know what? This is definitely something that, you hit the mark. This is what we are. So I was pretty confident that we met the objectives and we were going to move on. And then questions started. So at this point in time, I'm preparing myself for these questions. Somebody asked, can I see all my data? So at that point, I'm like, what do you mean? Of course you can see all your data. What are you talking about? And they were trying to elaborate, and they used terminology I really wasn't familiar with. They're like, can I see all of my selected data and unrelated and related data to my selections? And I'm like, I'm assuming you can. What do you mean? And they were like, well, if I select this value, could I see another value that's not related? And I'm like, well, not without writing a particular query for it. So at that point, it just, I was getting a little suspicious. And the next question came up, is chart linking automatic? Because I made all the charts interact with each other basically by sending multiple queries. And I'm like, no, you had to code this and interact with these components. We don't have, it's not automatic. There's a little work involved. And then third question, can I search the data? Do you have the ability to search the entire data set? So I'm like, well, that's something you'd probably have to build in. So at this point, I figured there's something's going on here. This is a setup. These questions were specifically seeded by qlik-tech, basically, or these are things that they saw within qlik-view that they wanted to see if we could mimic it as well. These were things that were of value to them, that they saw the difference when compared to other traditional query tools and other business intelligence data analytic tools, and they wanted to see if we had these features as well. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is basically, all fixed towards qlik-view. So another question was asked, by the DBA, asking how the data model was built. And I went into that and explained that it's a traditional query, top-down linear approach, creating a hierarchy structure, or creating left outer joins or traditional data modeling techniques and stuff like that. And the DBA was like, okay, well, you also had to create a number of queries for those reports, correct? So how many queries did you have to write? And it was quite a few that I had to do. The DBA didn't like that answer. So right off the bat, I was like, okay, I think I know where this is going. And as the questions kept coming, why are we using so many queries? Where's the green, white, and gray? I was like, what? That was something that I saw in QlikView when I downloaded Personal Edition, but it didn't resonate what it was. What about double counting when writing queries? Isn't query writing error prone? Where are the associations? So at this point, I'm doing my best to try to deflect these questions, and there was really no answer because our tool did not do stuff like that. So basically at that time, felt deflated, and we just, thanked them for their time. Felt like, we did a good job, but obviously at the end of the day, we weren't selected. And from that point on, from doing additional research and working with our competitive intelligence team, that's when I learned about something. At the time, they called it the Associative Experience. We've rebranded it to the Associative Difference now and then, and we've added a couple of more value points and value capabilities. But basically, that was my first introduction to what they called the Associative Experience. And it definitely was an eye-opener. I had no idea that any other. Now, I worked for a business intelligence company. I'm going on 25 years now. I worked for 4GL business intelligence companies. I've worked for open source business intelligence companies, and everything was traditional queries or 4GL languages. This was my first experience where I actually had a tool that I didn't have to write queries. I didn't have to link things together. I didn't have to write 4GL code, etc. It was all automatic. It was actually too good to be true in my mind. And now I'm at Qlik 8 years now, and obviously drinking the Kool-Aid and working with this. The rose-colored glasses are still on, and I'm still a big advocate when it comes to the associative experience. Okay, so the bottom line at this point, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate some practical capabilities about the associative experience and how associative difference and how I demonstrate it, present it to kind of relate the two. Okay. So on the screen now, you just see basically there's two differences. The Qlik Associative Engine, which is our patented process that aggregates data and automatically on the fly with every selection helps you explore data freely without boundaries, and basically provides speed of thought analysis and helps you uncover unexpected insights, versus query-based tools where you're limited to the number of queries that are written within partial subsets of data, and you're restricted to linear exploration without seeing the related or unrelated data. And then there's other things such as slow performance, because you're always hitting back-end queries. And at the same time, you have to ask, wait, and answer cycle, depending on if you need new queries written or developed, and depending on who's in your organization. Okay. I am going to mention that we do provide a simplistic or an oversimplification of this in a live demo that you can try yourself. I'm not going to cover this today because I just want to jump right into the the live and practical examples of what are comprised of the associative difference. But you can try this for yourself at that URL as well. And what I'm going to do here, I'll copy that URL for you as well, and I'm going to post that into the Q&A. So basically giving you some nice resources that you can follow up on. Okay, so right now coming to you, you should get a link to that as well. Okay, very cool. All right, so at this point, what we're going to do is I'm going to switch over to a couple of apps I've created where the associative difference comes into play. And this is going to talk about a few things: global context, as well as power of green, white, and shades of gray. So here I'm utilizing just a prepared QlikSense app. We take this from the perspective of a particular business user who's trying to uncover some insights, maybe answer some additional questions. So let's just say they focus around the area of sales rep performance. We happen to have an app that has a sheet that covers sales rep performance and has a number of statistics and analytical insights on this page: sales rep variance, sales margin, average lead time versus inventory, total revenue, et cetera. So one part of the associative difference is the ability to search your data globally and also see all of the global context at the same time within your app. Okay? And in other words, none of these charts have to be automatically wired. There doesn't need any separate queries. There doesn't have to have any separate parameters passed. Even when you develop this, you just load the data, drag and drop your charts onto the canvas, and they're automatically linked and wired. So performing a simple selection, such as clicking Judy Thurman, for example, will now show me a different context of my selections, my different measures. And for the selected value for the sales rep to mention Judy, I can immediately see her quantity by sales rep, sales versus margin, average lead time versus inventory, all respective to Judy. And that's either through a single selection or multiple selections. Okay, so the first part of the associative difference is global context, being able to see other related measures from your selections within other charts and analytics from simply selecting other values without having to have these manually wired up. Okay, so that's a key differentiator. Now I'm going to clear these selections, and I'm also going to be able to search my data automatically. This is nothing that has to be built into the app. It's automatically part of the QlikSense interface. And what you're doing here is you search for what you know. If there is something in here that you don't know, okay, as you're looking at a particular app or sheet and you don't know where to start typing in things you do know, and the Associative Engine will start making recommendations and suggestions on what it is you're typing. Okay, so for example, I want to look for low performers, so I'm just going to start typing the value low. As I do this, it indexes the values, and it shows you all of your fields and the values that match low. So you can see it gives me additional values here, but it also shows me where these values reside, in which field. I mean, and this is all automatic. This is not something that you have to code or develop or make it part of the data model or anything like that. It's just all just part of the Associative Engine. So if I was looking for Lower Tug Fork Road, I know it's in customer address 1. If I was looking for low-fat cookies, I know it's in product. Okay, but in this case, I'm looking actually for low performers, and there just happens to be a governed dimension called low performer. So in other words, I can simply select low performer, and now what it has done is it's updated all my insights to now just look at low performers. Okay, so being able to globally search the entire data set is part of the associative difference. So now I'm looking at just low performers. So let's use some of that global context, and let's focus in on these 3 poor performing sales reps, just for an example. So directly within the table, I select these values, all my charts update, and I have some additional insights through the use of color and proximity, right? Understanding when looking at visual analytics within a scatter plot or a bar chart, right? You're looking at comparisons, you're looking at colors, you're looking at proximity. In other words, the distance, the way the dots are. These are the outliers or the things that grab your attention. So what I'm looking at is this particular area here, and I can see that these are high margin products, but at the same time, they're low in sale. So off the bat, from this selection, looking at low performers in these 3 sales reps, we've uncovered a particular insight that maybe to help improve these particular sales reps' performance, they should start selling more high margin products, such as pretzels, muffins, and sour cream, for example. Okay? So that's a particular insight. And at the same time, if I really wanted to tout something really cool with this, I could take a snapshot of that. And then later on, I can go into my data storytelling and I can create a slide, and I can capture and grab that snapshot and put it on my canvas and then present this later back. That's just a little quick jump to data storytelling I wanted to share with you all. Okay, so now we uncovered that particular insight. You start asking additional questions. Well, how are these individuals doing within their own territories, or let's say by location? So immediately with my selections already in place, I'm just going to jump over to another sheet that has some geographical information. Okay, the same selections are in place, and we immediately see through the United States on the right-hand side, there aren't any sales in the Northeast for this selection. Okay, this chart is not displayed because it contains only undefined values. In other words, there aren't any sales in the Northeast. So now we know that these particular reps aren't selling any of those high margin products, and they aren't selling anything in the Northeast. This is where the power of green, white, and gray comes into play. If you look across the top, you can see that we have green. The green is what we're looking at. Cart Lynch, Dennis Fisher, and Janice Scott, these three sales reps. Then you'll notice we have light gray, and then you notice we have dark gray. The light gray is the other low performers that we are not looking at. The dark gray are the high performers, the ones that are not related to the low performers. Okay? This was a perfect example of really articulating this particular value point, understanding when you're using multiple selections, where does green, white, and gray come into play here? So at this point, these are the high performers, right? If you're a low performer, you're not a high performer, so you're not going to be in this list, but we don't remove that context. Now, what you can do is you could say, hey, what about these other low performers? How are they doing? So right here is just a little selection menu, and we're going to choose select the alternative. So now we're looking at the other low performers. And now you can see we have this progressive disclosure here that kind of gives you insight into the values and the relationships of what's being related, not related. I'm going to touch more on that a little bit, but I wanted to take this example from a completed application example. These low performing reps are selling in the Northeast, and what they're selling more of are fresh vegetables. And you can see that right here through this chart. So we uncovered a few insights in this very brief demonstration with the associative difference, basically just by using the app, not by writing queries, not by asking multiple questions to our IT department to create reports and then go back and ask additional questions because we have additional answers that we didn't get. We did this ourselves. And the associative difference through the use of global context, global search, and green, white, and gray have all allowed me to uncover additional information that could help improve these sales reps. Sell more low margin products, sell more fresh vegetables in the Northeast. Okay. Now, obviously, guys, this data, I massaged it to make a story behind it. Okay. Not all your data is going to be able to uncover this information. Okay. But if it does, then you definitely have a story to tell, and the customer and the organization will be quite happy that you discover this. Other things that green, white, and gray could show is just like, bad data. I mean, you could just run a query and start seeing that, well, why is this value there? Why is the southern state of Florida linked to the western region for some reason? You'll be able to say things like that, and it's just because the relationships and the context are still there. So keep that in mind. Okay. So that's an example of the associative difference through the use of an application. Now we're going to go through an associative difference example using a new feature that released last year called Associative Insights. At this time, I'm also going to prompt for any additional questions or anything like that if you wish. Okay, so where are we here? Okay, we're going to go into this app here. And I'm going to open up a new sheet. Okay, so now we have data loaded here. Okay, I haven't created any visualizations or anything yet. So what I'm going to do is we're going to click Edit. And I'm just simply going to grab country and drop it onto the canvas. Now the cognitive engine automatically interprets it's a geographical location and creates a map for me. I'm going to grab my measure of sales and drop it right on top. And it's going to automatically color those locations. Okay. So with the use of color, immediately I can see Germany right here is one of the top in respect to sales. Now I'm going to grab country again, holding my shift key, and it's just going to create a list box. And then I'm going to grab customer, holding my shift key, and it creates another list box. This is an oversimplification of green, white, and gray. I select Germany, okay? Notice my list boxes update automatically. Again, that global context that we're talking about. Green is what we're looking at, Germany. White are all the customers related to Germany. Dark gray are all the customers that are not in Germany. Okay? In other words, we did not remove those data values from your view. Okay? Because at one point, those data values can help prompt you to ask additional questions, just like they did earlier with the low-performing sales reps. Okay? So we're going to take this one step further, because people then go, okay, I'm starting to get the associative difference, and I'm seeing the power of green, white, and gray. But Mike, I got, I don't know, 50 dimensions. How am I going to look at all these dimensions? I got to drag and drop all these list boxes onto my canvas? No, you don't. We have something called the Global Selections List Box, or panel. And this shows you all of your data values and dimensional values and their relationships. And you can see that right here. So at this point, I want to narrow down, because I have a question in my head. I'm interested in the products sold by Germany. So I'm going to reduce my field list to just products by start type pro. And you can see that I have two field names, product ID and product name. Okay, so as we're looking, all these products were sold. As I scroll down, this one shirt was not sold. How do I know it's not sold? Because it's not related to the selection of Germany, because it's selected in dark gray. Okay, so for some reason, we surface all of the related values up to the top. So yes, I had to know what I was looking for. In other words, I was looking for products, and I was looking for a particular value, and I happened to see that the shirt was not sold. Okay, this is a traditional way of finding the unexpected, finding hidden discoveries. Okay, and this can be done pretty much, today if you want. But now, watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to click Explore Selections. And with our Associative Insights feature and the introduction of our cognitive engine, from looking at the data values, it now provides additional information on the fly to help you discover that unexpected. So from here, we can select a particular measure. In this case here, I'm just going to select my sales measure. And then this is going to show me the related dimensions regarding sales. I can look at contribution. This is a very nice feature because, again, you're not writing queries or even developing analytics for this. What this is showing you is Germany's contribution to the entire sum of sales in the data set compared to the other countries. So 519,000 compared to 1.3 million for a total of 1.8 million in sales, or a 29.1% contribution. As I scroll down, utilizing my eyes and visually looking at these gray bars and these white bars, I'm looking at the excluded values, and something catches my attention as I'm scrolling down, this particular product name. Look at all this white. We have one product out of 77 in this data set that's been excluded. Let me click on it and see what happens. I can see the contribution, possible values, excluded values, 76. There's one excluded. Sum of sales is 1.8 million. The actual sale of this throughout the entire organization of the product that is available for the other countries is 4.8 thousand. So there's something definitely going on with this product. Let's reveal the data to see what it is. It's that shirt. It brought it to my attention right away. So hopefully you liked the way that demonstration flowed. I showed you originally uncovering it through the use of the list boxes and the global selection, but now with the power of Associative Insights, it brings it to me front and center. Okay, so the associative difference gives you, if you want to just put a label on it, think of peripheral vision, right? You're looking ahead of you, but you still see some stuff on the side because of your peripheral vision. Associative difference gives you this peripheral vision by finding that data that you didn't know to look for, by bringing it to you front and center. Okay, so that is a really good example of the associative difference working with the cognitive engine. Okay, so at this time, guys, I try to keep these short and sweet. I can't keep this going half an hour. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the next poll question. and obviously this is fixed if you want. The associative difference can help me discover the unexpected, find hidden insight, reduce the number of queries to answer questions, prompt me to ask new questions I didn't think of asking, or all of the above. Obviously, I better get the right answer, but I'm sure we'll have some wise guys in there. But basically, I'll give you 1 minute to answer that question. And then if you have any Q&A session, I'm sorry, if you have any questions, we can have a nice little Q&A session. Anything else that you might want to see or have me talk about or present while you got me, I can do that as well. So I'm going to shut up and wait about a minute or two to see what happens. If you guys have to go, it's been a pleasure to present to you today. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you on the next Do More. So, okay, so I'm just going to wait for any questions. Next session, July 23rd, 2 p.m. with my special guest, Denise LaForgia. As I mentioned, share the word. We'll provide our promotions and links as usual, and hopefully Denise and I will see you there. All right, guys. Have a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.